Hey everyone, this is Molly from EGM, and last week I had a chance to play the Inverted Spire, which is the first strike that has been revealed for the upcoming Destiny 2. Of course, last week there was a gigantic Destiny 2 reveal event. They showed off, kind of the core mechanics of the game, this new strike, some of the PvP stuff, Homecoming, which was kind of the first little section of the game that you play through as part of the campaign. So they showed a lot of things, and I got a chance to attend the event with a few other people from EGM, and this is my playthrough of that strike. And before we get into it, and before you roast me too badly in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, I am not a Destiny player. I do play some first-person shooters. I'm not hardcore, but I do play some. But I don't play Destiny very much. I played maybe about an hour or so of the first game, so I was kind of stumbling my way a little bit through a few things in here. Like, I knew a lot of the basics, but I wasn't completely familiar with every little nuance. And you can also see I couldn't figure out at first how to properly invert the controls, which, by the way, when you're talking about the vertical look, inverted controls, I don't like that name inverted because that makes it sound like they are the opposite of normal, and as everybody knows, inverted controls are actually the real normal. So, and also, before this I did get a chance to play Homecoming, which is that first section, and in playing that, I had a really good chance to kind of go through the weaponry and find guns that I liked. But in this, since I was kind of playing with the team and we were jumping in pretty quick, I didn't really get a chance to change out my loadout, so you also see that I'm not really happy with some of these guns. But anyway, so Destiny 2, I was not a big player the first, but my hope into coming into this one was that maybe it would do things differently enough to kind of grab me, and I'm still on the fence about that. Like, I don't know what I think just yet, because I'm obviously saying this from a position of not knowing all of that content from the original game, but there was a little bit of a feeling that this was kind of like an expansion pack, as somebody who's not overly familiar. So I think that, Luke Smith on stage was talking about, and others were talking about, how they had kind of lost a decent chunk of players who maybe had gotten a little ways or to the end of the first major piece of Destiny and then kind of fallen off versus those players who stuck around for everything. And I think that for people who were around and saw the entirety of the first Destiny, like, you might see this and instantly know, okay, this looks different, that looks different, and so on. But for somebody like me, who didn't play a lot of the first game, there is kind of a I'm not sure what's different feel to this, And to be clear, too, obviously, this was us just having a chance to kind of play it for, bits and pieces here and there for a few hours at an event. So this obviously isn't a dig into it over a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months kind of thing. So it's all first impressions, so you know. So anyway, we're on the strike here. This is kind of the beginning section, and one thing I didn't realize coming into this was that there was going to be kind of those elements of platforming, at least as much as there is in this, because you saw kind of the section back a minute ago where I had to do kind of some precise jumps, and you saw me being very careful, and way more careful than probably a more seasoned player would be, and just kind of hopping, because I was having a little bit of difficulty with the jump system in this game, with the kind of the way you had the jump and then kind of the floating with the rocket pack, I'm assuming, or something like that. But so then, like, in this section here too, you'll see I'm gonna die in a minute here because I'm trying to go down and I get kind of stuck between these two poles. So I think what I had played of Destiny really hadn't shown much of that platforming, so I really wasn't expecting that. Not that it's a bad thing or anything, of course. It's just that I wasn't ready for it. I think it's right here where I'm going to die. After I shoot the guys for a few times. And it's funny, too, because I play Titanfall 2, and My main gun in that is the Devolution, which has some serious kick to it, you know, and recoil and stuff. And so I can handle that gun just fine, but I was like, the recoil on this gun was just driving me crazy. And so it was taking me kind of, I felt pretty noobish, you know, taking these really slow aimed shots and not firing off a lot of stuff. And you can see at this point, I've gotten like no kills at all, which is sad. It gets better like at the end, but because I was, you know, kind of hanging back and just, well, that part with the jumping kind of really screwed me up the first time I was going through it, so I kind of got, you know, kind of fell behind on things. Yeah, you know, so I mean, like, I'm excited about some of the things that they're talking about, you know, like the guided game stuff. That's really interesting, and I think for something like me, that would be great, because I tend not to necessarily want to get into clans in games, because I tend to prefer having the, if this makes any sense, like the mental and emotional freedom of just doing whatever I want to do at any time, you know. And I always feel like if I'm in a group, then I feel more pressure to do the things that they're doing when they're doing it versus just going off and exploring on my own. And I do enjoy that team element, you know, that aspect of grouping together with other players and getting these kind of longer stretches of gaming done. But those tend to be a little more random as in terms of when I want that stuff. So a lot of times in games, you know, that do have clan systems, I tend to be a little more of a solo player. Like when I played World of Warcraft many years ago, I soloed almost everything I did in that game. But you know, so with Destiny 2 and what they're doing with the guided games, I really like the idea that I can still be a solo player, but then have a much easier option for getting together with groups of people who know what they're doing and who are used to playing together, and tag along with them when I do want that kind of social aspect. Now, the concern I had, and this is something I talked to Bungie with a little bit, and they weren't saying too much just yet beyond what they had announced, was what do you do, you know, when you're that one lone player kind of feeling out of place with a group of 5 other players, you know, if that, or whatever the amount is at a certain time, that have all played together, who all know each other, who are all used to each other, you know. I think that could be a little bit intimidating for some players in terms of jumping in and feeling like the kind of odd man or woman out. So I'm curious to see how that goes, you know. I'm curious to see how guided games go, but it is really neat that they are thinking about that kind of stuff, and an element like that is part of, you know, what sometimes keeps me from teaming up with players in games like this. So we're heading down here now. So this is kind of really neat, you know, terrain. And stuff like this, though, is kind of, I think, one of the things brought up from people as to why this looks like the first Destiny. Because, again, as somebody who didn't play much of the first one, if I do look at this, while it is neat, it does kind of feel like the first game. So I'd kind of like to see them try some environments that really do look and feel different from what the games had before, but maybe that's not what it needs, you know, and maybe that's not what the longtime players want. Because you do run that risk of, if you change things too much and make things too different to try to accommodate the people who didn't play so much or the newcomers, you do run that risk of alienating the longtime players who were there for you the entire time, you know. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if how things turn out. And I think it's going to be kind of a sticking point for them. Is how do you make this feel like its own game and attract people like me, but also keep it something that those dedicated hardcore Destiny players feel like, you know, is still Destiny, like hasn't changed. And of course for them too, it's interesting that, you know, they're kind of wiping the slate clean for this game, which I think is going to be, you know, I think that's something they had to do. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that, but I think it is going to be kind of hard for previous players to say goodbye to all their stuff, you know, like all that. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I just think about the kind of games where I've put in all that time and effort to get items, loot, and armor sets, and things like that, and just to say goodbye to all of it, when a game on this kind of level might be really tough. You know, so we'll see. I don't know. So I wish I could tell you like how different this is from other strikes. I can't because I've played very little other strikes. You know, this was really me coming into the game and seeing how somebody, you know, who hadn't played much of the first felt about this. So, but it was interesting. Like, and we're going to get to a part down here in just a little bit with the kind of drilling machines, and that was a really neat little scene. It was something I kind of didn't expect from Destiny game. So it felt, even though it was very easy to die, and there's going to be a part you're going to see, and I'll point it out later, but there'll be a part where kind of I died, and then the machine kept pushing my dead spirit, or whatever it is. You know, not really corpse, because it's not a corpse, but it kept pushing me like further and further and further away, and it was just getting ridiculous. But it's a neat area. I think, no, there's not a mini boss up here yet. I think this is the point where we come over here, and we aren't sure if these teleporter things are safe or not. Yeah. Because we're going to get down here, and there's, like, the good old jump pads, but they literally look like just these burning jet engines, and it took us all a moment to decide whether or not we were brave enough to jump into them. I mean, because when you look at it, it looks pretty certain that you are supposed to jump in, but it's just, the visual cue is something a little frightening. And I think we're all kind of waiting for each other to try it first. These right here. Because you saw those previous things, the kind of the rings that were shooting us across the landscape. Like, those looked like, you know, kind of warp holes, and when we jumped in, you know, it seemed like a safe thing to do, but that did not seem like a safe thing. And I wasn't sure, like, I didn't know if these shields were the kind of shields where damage would, like, you know, reduce them down, or if I should just wait it out. So I just kept shooting them. So maybe that was a lot of wasted bullets, I don't know, but... And I mean, you know, like, it's not, like, I really like the gunplay of Destiny. You know, I'd got into Halo with Halo 2, because all my friends made me, you know. It's funny because I'm a console gamer, but I had really got into first-person shooters through the original Quake on PC/Mac. And after being very suspicious of it initially, I really got one over on mouse and keyboard. So I hadn't really done a lot of console first-person shooters, just because I had gotten so used to mouse and keyboard, and then all my friends ended up getting into Halo too, and maybe the first one too. And I had, I think, gotten an Xbox by that point, so they bought me a copy of Halo 2 for Christmas, and that's where I got into that. So I played Halo 2 and I played Halo 3. I really liked Halo 3, got really into that. And then I think I did some of ODST. So, you know, I was a fan of Bungie's kind of gunplay and their core mechanics, and I really do like Destiny. You know, like I was saying, I wasn't really gelling with this weapon loadout I have on this character here, but I do like how their shooting and the movement and stuff feels once I got used to it. But it was, I think it was kind of that with the original Destiny, what I had expected it to be. Like, I had really thought it was going to be more of an open world, you know, I mean, really open world kind of experience where all these things are happening out in the world and you're just down exploring and discovering things. I didn't think it was as kind of... I don't know if mission driven is a fair thing to say, but it kind of like was not what I was expecting it to be. And I think that's why I got turned off to Destiny, the original one, pretty quick. Just because there were so many other games out there to play at the time, and I tend to skew a little bit, you know, towards other genres. And so once I started trying it and it just didn't feel like what I wanted it to feel like, I got... bored isn't the right word, just kind of, you know, I don't know if disappointed is the right word either, but it just wasn't living up to what I was expecting it to be. So I think Destiny 2 might be interesting, you know, because now that I know what Destiny is and what it's about and how it plays, I think I could come into this game and enjoy it more because I didn't have that kind of crushed expectations I had with the first game. So this is a joy machine. I said this is a really neat little area, and I'll get deaded here very shortly. And then I cut it out because it was getting ridiculously long, but like I said, my body kept getting pushed further and further away. I think this is the part where, okay, I don't think I'm button or not. No. Yeah, so I was here, and the machine just kept pushing me back further and further. And I did also get to try Destiny 2 on PC, which was interesting. Funny in that, though, because at the event, once we got a chance to start playing the game, I went hands-on with the PS4 version of Destiny 2 and played that Homecoming segment. And then right after, I got a chance to play that same segment on PC. So I kind of went from the controls, you know, even saying before I was used to mouse and keyboard, now that I haven't used it in so long, I went from controls that I am used to mouse and keyboard that I'm not used to, and so I was fumbling a little bit. But the PC version did look really nice. You know, I'm not a PC tech person, so it wasn't a case of, you know, what the settings were and what the resolution was, and I all like that for me, but it did look really, really nice. And I think it's neat that, like, it's finally coming to PC, you know. Because it feels like a series that could totally work on PC and should be on there. This footage, though, this was on a PS4 Pro. So... which, you know, they only had Pros there. So we didn't really get a chance to kind of compare between the PS4 version and the Pro version. So I can't say anything to that, but... I do believe that they came out and said that... even on Pro, it's still going to be 30 frames a second. Which I know some people aren't a fan of. I try to figure out if I can get up there and revive her. This is kind of an interesting area visually. And I think we hop in... oh, okay, yeah. Teleport down, and then we're gonna get to the boss, or make a mini boss kind of here. Now I was playing a Titan because I had started the day playing a Hunter, and I think back when I played the original game, I had been a Hunter at that point too. And the Hunter now has the new kind of, you know, flaming sword you can do up in the air. I really liked that, so. I kind of wish to be a Hunter still, but then I switched to Titan. Or, I got on the station that was for the Titan. That thing. I didn't really like the ground pound as much. But, you know, I'm not necessarily that kind of get-up-close melee person all the time. I set it off too far away. I should have done it closer. And I think too, I remember now that like somebody had changed the controls before I was playing this, and so I think it said if you don't, there's something I didn't use. I think it's my grenades. No, grenades I used. There's something else I didn't use. But if you see me not using one of the certain abilities, it's because they had totally changed the controls, and so the grenades were on the different shoulder button, and then the other thing was somewhere else completely, which was weird. I was confused, but I thought maybe the Titan was just different until I checked afterwards, and they had actually changed the controls. This is the boss, and this is an interesting fight, in just that like the floor keeps falling away. It's kind of a neat effect. But I mean, there's nothing overly complex about this guy, the modular mind, as he's called. It's just kind of shoot him till he's dead. So, but it's more the kind of the environment around him is interesting, not so much the boss himself. And I honestly wasn't sure if headshots like gave you that much more damage or not in Destiny. Yeah, they do in most first-person shooters, so I was just expecting that they would, but I wasn't certain. So I was trying to get up headshots, but I wasn't necessarily always prioritizing that.
Watch your feet.
And then we fall on the last piece. I think this is the last piece. Yeah. Yeah, so of course I'm expecting that there's going to be a lot of other strikes revealed for the game. Yeah, I don't know how many there are going to be because they weren't really saying. They were just showing these little pieces, here and there. But we've only got, a handful of months until it comes out, so I'm expecting we'll see a lot more soon. Or maybe they're going to just kind of keep it, a little more hidden. Not to necessarily compare it to Mass Effect and Andromeda, but maybe do the Andromeda thing where they don't show off much, leading up to it. Which I think is always a tough thing to decide, It's like, do you want to show off a lot to get people to really understand all there is to see and do in the game, or do you want to kind of keep it hidden away so that players are experiencing all these things for the first time? That's where I think I was looking for something, and like I said, the controls had changed, so I was trying to figure out where it was in the controls, and I pulled my ghost out instead of doing something else. That time I got a little closer when I hit it, which was good. As I pound his dead corpse, or his dead body, I should say, because the corpse, of course, is dead. So that was the Inverted Spire. That's the first strike shown off for Destiny 2. Thank you for watching me stumble my way through this game that I know very little about. But it was interesting to get a chance to kind of try it. And if you want more on Destiny 2 and the rest of gaming, you can find us at egmnow.com, where we do everyday news, reviews, previews, videos, and other things. Thanks for watching.